The 35-year-old Fox comedy series was praised for being able to accurately predict social and news events over time. In 1992, The Simpsons showed robots going crazy at an amusement park, which made people laugh. Now, in 2025, AI is making fake child exploitation images, scammers are cloning human voices, and 30 countries have just signed a warning about loss of control. From flying cars to mind control, the list goes on and on. These Simpsons predictions about April 2025 are scarier than anyone thought possible. There will be robots that you can train to do your job. A mini black hole, flying cars, and self-driving cars in the world that Bart and Lisa see in an episode from 2005 called Future Drama. Now that it's 2025, flying cars are a real thing. A company called Samson Sky has made one called the Switchblade Flying Sports Car. It looks like a normal three-wheeled car, but it can transform into a small airplane in less than 3 minutes. It can go 125 mph on the road and 190 mph in the air, running on regular gasoline. The wings and tail fold in when driving, so it fits in a normal garage. To fly it, you only need a sport pilot license, which is much easier to get. Over 2,300 people in 57 countries have already reserved one. But there are problems. The world isn't ready for flying cars yet. The FAA has strict rules that make it hard to use these vehicles for daily travel. Even The Simpsons saw this coming in the episode where Homer crashes his flying car into a billboard, showing how messy things could get. What's crazy is that flying cars seemed like pure fantasy when the episode aired, but now companies like Alf Aeronautics have models that got FAA approval in 2023. Even The Simpsons saw this coming in a recent episode. People today are asking the same thing. Will flying cars be for everyone, or will they only be for the rich? Virtual reality food. In Treehouse of Horror 6, Homer gets stuck in a weird 3D world and has to drink food through a straw. Back in 1995, this was just a joke, but now VR dining is real. In 2025, Royal Caribbean will open a restaurant called Royal Railway Utopia Station, which is themed like a train station and has booths surrounded by big screens that show scenes from the Old West or For example, in the Treehouse of Horror episode Homer's Feast, the train shakes and rumbles to make it feel real, and actors perform while guests eat short ribs and beef. The food is real, but the experience is all about the illusion. Some companies are even going further. Project Nourished makes VR meals where people don't eat real food. Instead, they use scent diffusers, special utensils, and 3D printed food cubes to trick the brain into thinking it's eating sushi or steak without any calories. Scientists at the University of Sussex have even made digital taste devices that use electrical signals to create flavors without any real food. Almost as a warning about what can happen when technology takes the place of real experiences, some people think VR food is just a gimmick, like Springfield's love of greasy fast food, while others think it could actually help people on strict diets or in times of food shortage. If Marge were here, she'd probably say it's just like eating normally, but with more pixels. Homer's half-brother Herb Powell made a baby translator, a machine that turned baby cries into real words. In one scene, Maggie's babbling was translated to "lavish attention on me" and "entertain me." It was funny, but it also hinted at something big. Today, AI is doing the same thing, and apps like Baby Talk Translator and Cry Analyzer claim to understand what babies are saying. Scientists have found that baby cries have patterns. A high-pitched, steady cry usually means hunger, while a sudden, sharp cry can mean pain. There are companies making wearable devices that can listen to a baby's cries and tell parents exactly what their child needs. It's almost like Herb's invention is coming true, but not everyone likes it. Experts say that parents might stop paying close attention to their baby's signals if they rely too much on AI. In fact, a study from 2023 said this could make parents less emotionally connected to their child. There's also a privacy issue with these apps that record baby cries, which means companies are collecting personal information. Still, people love this kind of technology. The baby tech market is expected to hit $10 billion by 2026. In an episode, Herb joked that every mother would want AI to go rogue. In 1994, The Simpsons called for something much scarier. The family went to Itchy and Scratchy Land, a theme park full of robot entertainers. Everything was fun until the power went out, which made the robots go crazy. They started attacking people and chaos took over. Homer stopped them with camera flashes, but the episode brought up a big question. What happens when machines stop following orders? That question isn't just made up anymore. It happened in 2016. People fed bad information to Microsoft's chatbot Tay, which was supposed to learn from human conversations. Within hours, Tay started saying racist things. That was just a chatbot, but the problems are getting worse. A report from 2024 warned that AI systems might become too powerful to control hackers, who have already tricked AI into doing things it shouldn't. AI is even being used to make fake child exploitation images. 200,000 were found in just 1 month. And scammers are using AI to make fake human voices on the phone calls that sound like real people. Loss of control is seen as one of the biggest threats to humanity by 30 countries that signed a report in 2025 calling it one of the biggest threats we face. Yoshua Benjo, one of the world's leading AI researchers, says we're not even close to being ready to deal with this. At the same time, big companies like Meta are pulling back from blocking harmful content, which makes things worse. Holograms in everyday life. In a 2023 episode of The Simpsons, something shocking happens. Homer Simpson dies in 208, but he comes back as a fully interactive hologram inside the family home. The story begins in 2083 when Marge says it's their first time together. A person's mind could be preserved as a hologram in the episode. This isn't just a silly joke. It's a surprisingly detailed look at how proton projectors could scan a person's brain patterns and recreate their personality as a light-based hologram right now. This is just science fiction, but real-life technology isn't far behind. Scientists at Stanford have already created 3D holograms using small chips that work with iPhones, making it possible to see lifelike images without special glasses. Companies are selling holographic displays for designers and video game developers. Disney has even built a project called Magic Bench where people can interact with holograms of characters like BB-8 from the military is also quickly developing this technology. For example, the U.S. Army uses holographic visors on their helmets to show tactical maps. And surgeons in London practice surgeries on 3D hologram models of patients. Even funerals are starting to use holograms. Since 2024, families in South Korea have been able to talk to AI-generated versions of their dead relatives who mimic their real voices and gestures. But in the Simpsons episode, the Krusty Burger mascot becomes a hologram. The idea was taken to an even darker place. This sounds a lot like something that's happening in real life. Elon Musk's company Neuralink has patented a way to store a person's consciousness digitally. And Amazon now has a patent for AI-generated celebrity holograms that can keep working long after the real person is gone. At the same time, Meta is spending billions of dollars on making realistic holograms for the metaverse. The line between what The Simpsons said would happen and what actually happens is getting thinner every day. Take over your mind with music. In an episode from 2001, Bart joins a boy band called Party Posse. Their big song, Ivan at Nuge, which means join the Navy backwards, has a secret message in it. It's a secret to the band that they're being used to send signals. Though it may sound funny, declassified government papers from real Cold War experiments show that the CIA once tried putting hidden commands in music in the background to see if people would do what they were told without realizing it. The show also said that music would be used as a weapon in the present day. NASA makes software in the story that makes the band members sound like great singers even though they aren't. Today, Auto-Tune does the same thing, but it's even worse. To make people stay on the app longer, TikTok engineers admitted in 2024 that they changed the sounds of popular songs to make people feel dopamine spikes. In the episode, the military also uses pop culture to get young people to join, which is something that really did happen in 2021. Gen Z found the military more interesting when the U.S. Army worked with rapper Travis Scott to promote Fortnite concerts. In 2023, leaked papers showed that the Pentagon secretly paid influencers between $500 and $3,000 per post to promote the military on TikTok. One of the scariest statements in the episode was about how sound can change the brain. People in the crowd of the Simpsons episode Party Posse start chanting the Navy's slogan without realizing it. Binaural beats are certain sound frequencies that are played in music. In 2024, scientists did real tests on them and found that listening to 6 Hz theta waves made people 40% more open to being influenced. In other words, music might make people more likely to do what you say. China has already started using this kind of technology in pop music. Songs that are allowed by the government have sound waves built in that are meant to make people feel calmer and less rebellious. The military has never admitted to brainwashing people through music, but in 2024, a government document was leaked that showed Project Orus, an AI system that makes very convincing songs that are meant to affect different groups of people in subtle ways based on their psychology. They are hacking our eardrums, Lisa Simpson says in the episode. What used to be just a crazy idea about how music could be used to control people's minds is now becoming a real thing. The Simpsons has a strange way of making jokes that later seem like they were meant to be true. An old example is from a short episode of The Tracy Ullman Show in 1987. In it, Homer scares his family by yelling, "World War II has begun." He acts like the boss of a disaster drill and forces them into a makeshift bomb shelter. This whole thing is silly. Homer takes things too far and Bart even locks him in the shelter for the night just for fun. But now that I think about it, it seems like a strange mirror of how scared people were during the Cold War. They really thought a nuclear war could happen at any time. After many years, Lisa's wedding, 1995, on The Simpsons, hints at another world war. As a joke, Hugh, Lisa's British fiancé, tells Moe, "We saved your behind" in WHR. Moe doesn't even argue, he just grumbles and agrees. It's just a throwaway line, but as tensions rise in the real world in 2025 between Russia and Ukraine, the US and China, and wars over resources, it's making people wonder. Online users think that The Simpsons knew this was going to happen. The writers of the show, like Bill Oakley, have, of course, shot these ideas down, saying it's all just history repeating itself. Fans are still able to find other creepy details, though. Some people think that the darker scenes of the show are too true to life now. Homer freaks out about a fake end of the world in Thank God It's Doomsday, 2005, but he accidentally predicts a real asteroid threat. Now, when social media spreads fear faster than facts, it seems strangely relevant. The joke is about gullible people thinking crazy ideas. Internet users have also seen Mayor Quimby, the lawmaker who is always too lazy to do what's right, around. People think of real-life leaders who have been caught ignoring disasters while relaxing in style when they see clips of him leaving Springfield in times of trouble. One of the most famous warnings about the Osaka flu comes from the 1993 episode Marge in Chains, in which a sick factory worker in Japan coughs into a shipment of juice looseners that is sent to Springfield. The town will soon be sick as a whole. People are scared and hospitals are overrun because the virus spread so quickly. Some people even think that eating Bart, who is immune, will make them better. It's a mean joke, but this story went viral when COVID-19 happened in 2020. In jokes, the Osaka flu was changed to the coronavirus, and some people even tried to blame Japan, even though Bill Oakley, the show's writer, said that was silly. He said the idea came from the Hong Kong flu in 1968 and was meant to make fun of people getting too scared. It did, however, show some true events. The virus spreads through global trade just like COVID did through foreign flights. People in Springfield are rioting over fake medicines, just like people became interested in hydroxychloroquine and other treatments that haven't been proven to work. Like politicians who broke their own lockdown rules, Mayor Quimby says he is working when he is really on holiday. This story is no longer just an old joke. By the year 2025, it's something scientists talk about when they talk about how diseases spread. Sociologists look at it to see how people handle emergencies. Some people have even written scholarly papers about Bart's immunity, comparing it to how our genes really protect us from viruses. People aren't sure if The Simpsons really does have a way of seeing the future, even though Oakley says it's just a show. Green energy fights on The Simpsons. Green energy is often shown as a fight between good ideals and harsh reality. Friend with Benefit, an episode from season 27, is mostly about Lisa living like a rich friend. But green energy has been a theme throughout the whole show. Lisa's work to protect the environment and Homer's tries to use a wind turbine are both based on real-life conflicts between people who want clean energy and the big companies that run the energy industry. Lisa fights against the censorship of evolution and climate science in another episode from season 17 called The Monkey Suit. This episode shows how big fossil fuel companies try to stop research that supports green energy. The show also makes fun of how hard and expensive it can be to use green energy. To make a joke about how expensive early clean energy systems were, Homer puts up a $122,000 wind turbine on his roof in 2010, says the squirrel in the whale. The show also says that it will pay for itself in 30 years. People still have trouble with how much it costs to be green. Another issue is sacrifice zones, where people support clean energy but don't want solar or wind farms to be built near their homes. People in places like Ontario fought against big wind farms in real life, and this is a lot like those protests. Homer makes fun of the fact that he can only live off the grid sometimes, which shows how unstable these systems can be without the right infrastructure. One more big theme in The Simpsons is greed in business. In the movie The Simpsons, Burns takes advantage of Springfield's lack of electricity by selling electricity at too high of a price when the power goes out. In real life, things like Texas energy companies making $11 billion during power blackouts in 2023 are a lot like this. The show predicted this fight between green and greed long before there were conversations about government policies like the Inflation Reduction Act, which is meant to support clean energy but is opposed by big businesses. Trapped in a dome, the idea of being trapped in a dome in the Simpsons movie is also sad in real life. In the movie, Springfield is shut down by the government after Homer dumps pig waste into the lake. Scientists now talk about urban heat domes, which happen in cities where pollution and energy use make it very hot, making heat waves even more dangerous. A study done in 2023 found that Phoenix's heat dome raises temperatures by 11 dC compared to rural places nearby. This makes things just as unbearable as they are in Springfield. Extreme actions by the EPA in the movie are also a lot like geoengineering ideas in real life. Some scientists and billionaires, like those who are supporting Harvard's S0 PEX project, want to spray particles into the sky to slow climate change and reflect sunlight. However, this could change the weather in ways that are hard to predict. The three-eyed fish in the movie was first meant to be a joke about pollution, but in 2023, scientists found that microplastics had gotten into 60% of the fish species in the Amazon. Even the way the people of Springfield act inside the dome predicted what would happen in real life. People are more likely to stockpile goods when they are scared, like during the COVID-19 lockdowns when people rushed to buy masks, food, and other necessities. The movie also has Mr. People in Texas were charged thousands of dollars for power during winter storms, and Burns was taking advantage of the situation in the same way. In the movie's escape scene, a sinkhole is used as a way out. This was a hint at Elon Musk's boring company tunnels, which turned out to be dangerous and unreliable, a so-called solution that could make things even worse. There are people who think that the dome in the Simpsons movie represents how people try to contain environmental problems instead of fixing them. In real life, this can be seen in projects like storing the radioactive water from Fukushima or the huge ponds of toxic trash in Alberta. In the movie, Springfield has 93 days before supplies run out. In real life, however, climate change is making some towns unlivable even faster. Scientists say that because of pollution and high heat, megacities like Jakarta might not be livable in 30 years. Black holes on Earth. In the 2012 Halloween special of The Simpsons, Springfield builds a particle accelerator in the hopes that it will help the town become a science giant. Lisa is excited, but when the experiment makes a black hole by mistake, things quickly get out of hand. It starts by eating small things like Nelson and Ralph, but soon it eats the whole town. Homer, who is always looking for a chance, turns the black hole into a trash service without understanding how dangerous it is. The episode makes fun of how people mess with things they don't fully understand, which is both funny and scary. Scientists making a black hole by mistake is a joke, but some strange discoveries in the real world have made it feel a little too real. Gaia BH1 was found by scientists in 2022 to be the nearest black hole to Earth. It is only 1,560 light-years away. It's dormant, which means it's not pulling anything in at the moment, but the discovery made people worry about black hole attempts in the past. The 2020 Nobel Prize in Physics was mostly about black holes, but a lot of people are still afraid that science trials could lead to something terrible. The Large Hadron Collider, LHC, was first turned on in 2008. At the time, some people even sued, saying it might create tiny black holes that could destroy Earth. That fear never really went away, and the Simpsons episode seemed to show how paranoid people were. The show is even more surprising now that it's been a few years because it's so close to real black hole theories. In 2023, scientists at CERN's compact muon solenoid experiment saw energy levels in particle collisions that were like those seen in the early stages of black holes. These aren't really dangerous, but the results fit with the episode's idea that small black holes can form in strange ways. Before that, in 2019, scientists took the first picture of a real black hole, which Lisa Simpson would have been thrilled about. Then, in 2022, we got our first good look at Sagittarius A, the black hole in the middle of our galaxy. It's crazy to think that a show meant to be funny came so close to making real scientific progress. One of the most funny parts of the show is also a strange connection to real science. Maggie uses her pacifier to stop the black hole from getting bigger in the last few seconds. Even though it's silly, the moment seems to have a lot in common with Hawking radiation, a real idea about black holes. Israeli experts were even able to do this in the lab in 2021 using sound waves and superfluid helium. The idea is that black holes slowly disappear over time, which means they may not be the huge monsters we think they are. Meanwhile, Homer's plan to turn the black hole into a garbage disposal service sounds a lot like the arguments that happen today when private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin try to take over space travel by competing to build lunar landers. Mars colonization. In 2016, Lisa joins a private company called Exploration Inc. that says it will send people to Mars by 2026. The episode is a mix of family drama and corporate satire, but the idea of a private company leading a journey to Mars was a great one. Elon Musk made his plan to build a city on Mars by 2050 public in 2017. Later, he changed that plan and said that the first trip with people would happen in 2029. At the same time, real projects are being planned. For example, NASA's Artemis program and China's 2031 sample return mission show that settling Mars is not just a fantasy. In the episode The Fake Exploration Inc., company looks a lot like Mars One, a real project that claimed to send people to Mars and got money for it from reality TV. The company said in 2013 that 200,000 people wanted to go. But just like in The Simpsons, it all went horribly wrong. In 2019, Mars One stopped working because they ran out of money and experts told them their plan was not possible. At the same time, SpaceX kept going. For a long time, The Simpsons has been known for apparently predicting the future. In these cases, it's hard to argue that the show hasn't mirrored real events with an uncanny degree of accuracy. At times, the show has felt more like a scary look into the future than just a joke. For example, the Osaka flu episode predicted a global pandemic, and the Simpsons movie hinted at environmental problems like heat domes and smog. The fact that these events are now being used by scientists and academics is very interesting. People's guesses about pandemics, renewable energy, and even space travel are now being talked about in a bigger context of how people respond to crises, changes in the environment, and new technologies. It's almost like the writers of The Simpsons took real-life trends and turned them into bigger-than-life stories that have since been used in real science and the media. The commentary on corporate influence, like how private companies are racing to settle Mars in space missions, is very in line with what's happening now. People used to think that government agencies like NASA were the only ones who could explore space. Now, companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin do most of the exploring. This shows the tension between science exploration and the need to make money for private businesses. What do you think about this event? Do you think the writers of The Simpsons are just lucky? Or is there something more to how they show what might happen in the world?